It's all about just kind of feeling and paying attention. But don't feel like right now all eyes are on me. You know, usually at your table, no one's really paying attention to you. So don't be like freaking out and sweating. You just want to efficiently and gracefully open a bottle of wine. So I've used the first one to get it out as much as I can, and then I'm going to use as much. And then you don't have to like flick it out. You just then use your hand to kind of wiggle it right out of the bottle. You don't want to make a ton of noise. Take the cork off and present it to the host, okay? So, there you go. You can put your corkscrew back in your apron because you're not going to need it anymore, and this one's not broken in, so it's struggling. And then at this point, you can pick up the serviette. Again, I prefer that you kind of always keep that label host facing the host. Pour a small amount, and my trick is to rotate the bottle counterclockwise. A lot of people go this way to catch a drip. Counterclockwise catches more drips, just so you know. So if you're going to pour, going like this will stop the, I don't know, something with physics. It'll stop the drip a little bit better. So that's an appropriate pour, you know, 1/2 inch to 1 inch. You don't want to give them just a minuscule amount. Again, you can be using your serviette to make sure that they good to go. Okay, then I'm going to you can either choose to go around counterclock with a table this big. Maybe I might start with you and go around. It's really kind of whatever you want, or how much time you have. You know, if you don't have any other tables and you feel like they'd appreciate you serving the women first, do that. Always pouring the host last. Depending on how much there is, ask them about the chiller. It's okay if they want a chiller and you haven't brought one out, so you can still set it on the table. This is the only time. Now is the only time it's appropriate to set the bottle on the table. You don't set it down any other time until you're done pouring. You don't like it to set it down while you put your stuff away. You know, you're always holding the bottle. You can wrap the serviette around. If you need to go get a chiller, at that point you can walk away. I'll ask Adrian, may I take the cork? And then I can get that cork off the table. Keep it in a safe place if you want. And then you're done. Any questions? Yeah.
Small one.
Yeah.
You set the cork on its side. Is that the way you want it to be done?
Either way. Yep. Usually, I think a lot of times they'll say wet towards the host, but if you want to go straight up and down, you can.
Doesn't matter.
Fancy places will even use an underliner or a little plate, but we don't need to here. Okay, now we're going to get to the scary stuff, okay? I shouldn't even say scary. It isn't scary,
Well,
but it scares people.
I was like,
I'm scared
It's going to be a
now.
lot
Nervous.
different. Well, it should be.
like a horror
Murder
novel.
face.
Well, I'm going to read this to you guys because I'm going to make you nervous, but it's actually true because, okay, the same steps apply with sparkling wine in terms of how you know, pouring a taste, presenting the bottle, etc. But you got to be careful because 120 pounds per square inch on a cork, okay? It's more than a car tire. And it can take out an eye, it can hurt a customer, it can damage, it can break a window, it can do a lot of things. So I'm going to show you the proper way, and I really want you to try and do it this way. And the way I'm showing you, although it's a little bit like scarier, it actually is safer because you're going to have a napkin and you're never going to take the cage off, okay? So if it did go, you've got a napkin over it, and it's going to just like, it'll be safer than a single cork without cage on it, okay? So, Adrian, do you want me to wait till you're back? Do you want to see this?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so you're going to have a serviette. You can have an ice bucket on the table, but you can do the same thing like I did with the chiller and ask them, you know, like once you're done pouring, if they like it on ice, and then you could bring an ice bucket out, so the same sort of thing applies. So I like to use a wine key for cutting the capsule, okay? So I'm first going to present the bottle, and I would say, like if they're sparkling wines, sometimes don't have a vintage because they blend. So I would just say the Adami Prosecco, which would be fine. She says, okay, then I'm going to they have these like tabs. I wrote on your notes, they're like guaranteed not to work. Those tabs, like half the time you can get them, half the time you can't. So I would just prefer that below the cage where you can kind of see the perforation, you can just cut it with your knife, just like always. This one you won't always get as clean of a cut because it's just the foil. And you're going to take that off and put it in your apron. You will be done with this now. That's the only time I use this key is going to be for cutting the capsule. Then you need to take the serviette and I cover it, okay? You don't need to worry as much about the label facing because we're worried about safety here, okay? So I'm going to take the serviette and I'm going to put it over the cage. I'm going to loosen the cage. I hope this is a dummy a hard one to open or an easy one to open?
It's so
Okay.
all
You're going to
all
loosen the
over
cage,
place.
always keeping your thumb on it, okay? Because now, if for some reason it does go, it's going to make a noise, but it's not going to like blast your thumb off. So you're always going to hold it, okay? Then you're going to, keeping your thumb always on it, take it and counterclockwise turn it, okay? Cage is still on, but it's nice and loose, okay? So the cork is turning in my hand right now. And I'm going quarter turns. Some people go back and forth. I like quarter turns. And you can feel it. You know, I can feel it giving a bit. Little by little, hopefully. Okay? So even in my sound class, I would have not passed because there was a noise. But, oh, that was a nice little, not a pop. We don't want it to be like, poo, like a craziness. So it really isn't, the way I was probably looking a little bit like, as you're turning it, you don't want to look stressed. It really isn't that hard. It's quite easy. And you know now that you've got the cage and everything, because what you guys have probably done, because I know I used to do it, is you take the cage off and you quick put your thumb over it, probably, hopefully, and then you're putting the cage in your pocket and then you're like taking it back off to grab it. Well, all those times your hand's coming off of it, it can go. And under pressure, if there's big temperature changes to the bottle, all that stuff makes these bubbles get angry. So you never really know. So that's what I would prefer to do. Do you guys have any questions? Ask the bartenders. So maybe you guys, once you've practiced it, anytime you have to open one, if we're not busy, call a new staff member over. Once you do it once, you really won't struggle. Now, there are wines, you guys know with sparkling wine, I don't know which ones are on our list, if there's any, that are like really freaking hard. So sometimes when you go to start and you really feel like it's not giving any give, you could transfer it to your other hand, you know what I mean, and really crank on it. Or if I feel like I can't do it, and I'm not trying to be sexist, but sometimes I'll say again to the customer, I'm having a little trouble, and I will take it over to the bar to just have a guy to kind of really turn it. 'Cause sometimes I just don't have the strength in my hand because it's not working. That's okay. I'd much rather have you say, I'm struggling. I mean, especially the way you say it. If you're not nervous and you kind of are like charming about it, no one's gonna care. They'd rather not have it blast across the room, okay? So once you're done, you're going to pour I screwed this up. You're going to present the cork. Take the cage off the cork, okay? And set the cork to Adrian, or the host. Put the cage in your apron. You're not going to need it. Again, you can remove the cork when we're all done. So with pouring sparkling wine, there's always going to be a mousse that fizzes up. I'm sure you guys have noticed that if you pour it. So it's technically you're supposed to try and pour, after you poured her a taste, you're supposed to try and pour it all in one full pour, but don't stress out over that. So I'm going to pour a little. And then, well, if you drip like that, use your serviette to just wipe it up. Okay, you can drink it. Once she's done, go around to the table. But when you go to pour, maybe you notice you kind of need that first little bubble up to then chill out. So you can pour a little bit, stop, and pour a little bit more, okay? Depending on the amount of people, again, if you have 8 people drinking one bottle, only pour up to like the halfway point. Because if you pour a full glass, you're gonna run out. So it's just like the other wines, you can pour a little bit less and leave it. Or if you know they're all just really want a glass, if you really have to make a second round around the table, just do it. I mean, it's not ideal, but we could. So then you just top it off. Any questions? Okay, you could set it down. You can do the same kind of serviette wrap on it. You can ask if they need a champagne bucket, if they, if they have more than half, I'd maybe just bring it out. If they have a little bit, you can ask if they care for it, if they're gonna drink it quickly.
So, you pour for the host, and then you pour a full glass instead of pouring partials and then going around and filling.
I prefer, I don't need you to have 0 left is the thing. But if you know that they really don't want to have a lot of extra, I'm just saying play it a little bit safe. But I would pour as much, don't pour everyone this much and then go back around. Pour the host a little bit, go around and pour at least, however much you think is going to spread the bottle around, and then finish with the host. If you really feel like you want to finish off the bottle, you could make a second pass, but otherwise I just leave it on the table just like anything else. Okay. One other thing that I have in here that's